Right here set for Mr. Petrie, so we do have back to have a quorum. I'd like to welcome all the visitors and guests, and one of the things is I'd like to recite our mission. We are committed to positively impacting the educational experience. Our students are worth it, and let's keep that in mind as we go through our meeting. I'd like to welcome Mr. John LaBooth. This is your first official meeting. We are so excited to have you in our district. Unfortunately, you get to come in when there's a polite way to put it. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, and we appreciate your leadership.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you guys for the opportunity, and we work very hard to do everything we can to mitigate any risk for what we're dealing with the pandemic.
Thank you. First of all, we've got student and staff recognition.
Yes, I'd like to start off with something really positive, and what is more positive than the state literacy grant that Ms. Williams and her staff received. They applied for this literacy state development grant in May and received a 2-year award of $70,000. I'll turn it over to her to share with you guys what they got going.
Thank you. We were, well, first of all, I really cannot take credit for the actual writing of it. My instructional facilitator at the time, Andrea Ward, did most of the legwork and most of the research for it, and she, fantastic employee and individual, and West Fork saw to offer her a position and put her in a leadership administrative role in their district, and it was an opportunity that she could not pass up, and so she is now a West Fork Tiger. She said that her heart will always be with Farmington and would love to maybe come back someday, but this was a big deal for her to get this opportunity. So we learned that we received this grant just a day or two before she actually left, but I've worked with her to take it over from the standpoint of all the paperwork. That it is a 2-year grant. There's a lot of things that go along with it, but the actual assessing of kids and keeping track of the data and just making them aware of the things and the benefits that our children have received and the growth that we have said that we want to see from the items that we purchased through this grant. The accountability factor is going to be very strong. So you turn in an accountability report at the end of the first year, and then they sign off on the second year, which there's a couple of things that kind of overlap, and then there's one big thing each year. For this year, we'll be spending about $15,000 to continue to increase our resources with Chromebooks. Obviously, that's a huge part of what we need right now, especially with our virtual learning, but we'll be providing more Chromebooks for our students. The next thing that we do, it's part of the dyslexia intervention program, the dyslexia law that was put out several years ago. We provide our teachers training and our paraprofessionals training in Phonics First curriculum. It's an intervention program. It's quite expensive. It's about $1,300 for them to go to this training. They offer it in the co-op, but it is expensive, and it's also, if we get it in the summer, that's wonderful, but a lot of times we have to send them throughout the school year, and then we have to pay for substitutes. It's a 5-day training, and so we received another $15,000 to be able to split between the 2 years to send our teachers to that, and that should put all of our literacy teachers and our paras as having that training by the time this is said and done, and that's really, really huge. That's also a huge program with Rise Arkansas for interventions, and so it's not just for a certain group of kids, it's for all kids that have some needs in different areas of reading and comprehension. So those are the two big things, Phonics First and Chromebooks. Also with Rise Arkansas, they sent out a list of approved curriculum that we can now begin to purchase. We feel like at the time that it came out this summer, we didn't have enough time to thoroughly research all of the programs that are out there and also be able to provide the staff development in person that we needed to be able to do that for this year. So that's one of the projects that we're putting off to the 21-22 school year, is to actually purchase that curriculum and provide the professional development, and that total is $25,000. So that will hopefully get all 3 grades, their new curriculum, and the professional development that goes with the implementation of that. And then finally, we're super excited about this part of it. It's something we haven't done before. for, we're gonna be able to provide some English language learner tutoring after school. We're going to have 5 teachers that will receive a $500 stipend each semester for the 4 semesters of this grant to work with our ELL population after school and help provide them with anything that they need, honestly, to help with their academics. But this population it's growing, and their parents are very, very in tune with wanting their children to be, taken care of, and also they want to partner with us. And so it's wonderful that we're going to be able to also send our teachers for more training to know exactly, what their needs are and how we can best serve them and bring them in with parent involvement and all of those different aspects of their education. And so we're going to be working with Amy Purefoy and hopefully be able to really serve a neat group that we haven't, been able to just work with specifically. And so our ELL after school tutoring program is going to be, it's another $15,000, and the professional development that will go along with that will not only benefit those students, that benefits every student. Those resources the teachers obtain through that training is, it's great for all kids. So I feel like we have $70,000 that's going to, there's going to be benefits to every student in our building from this grant. And it was a very hard grant to fill out. It was very difficult. I know you said your Star City district did the same thing. Sometimes when these grants, this is a lesson we kind of learned with this, sometimes when these grants are so difficult to write, not as many people want to take the time to write them. And I think sometimes we think, we sit here pretty good with what we have, but there are funds and there are things out there that we can apply for and receive. And I think this was a really good lesson for me to know that, a little extra effort can bring in a lot for a district. We were even told that, there might have been more money that we could have, other things. And so we're super excited and honored to be able to have this money and to use this for our kids and to better our district. And one other little aside, we received another grant from the Arkansas Middle Level Educators Association. Mr. McClung is part of that group, and we received that grant. And then early in the summer, we had received a grant for a water filling station. So I got a good little group of grant writers in my building, and I'm just gonna have to start hiding them under flowers so the West Fork Tigers don't come after everyone. So
Thank you, Julie.
Thank
And
you.
I'm excited. I know it's a huge grant.
we're very excited. Thank you. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Anybody got any questions or comments for Julie? That's really good stuff, and hope you can find another Andrew award out there, do some more of this grant.
Well, I do have her replacement, and she's gonna be a rock star, and I can't wait for you to meet her.
Awesome, good to hear, good
It's
to
just
hear.
gonna be great.
All right, let's, I guess move on to the consent agenda. Sure.
Guys, in the consent agenda, you had the minutes this month, and in your packet, you also had the inter-district transfer request in that packet. Sure want to entertain any thoughts or questions on those, or pretty standard business, but that's
Sure
all.
was a bunch of them.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, it was. We were talking today.
Never seen that.
yeah, from
Yeah.
payable, from payable.
Yeah.
I think we were at 15 new ones coming
15.
into the district, 5 going out. Is
A
that
lot
right?
of them are, we don't want to be in the blended classroom. That's what a lot of them are, and so they're coming in, that's where a lot of them from Fayetteville are coming from.
Yeah.
They want their kids in the classroom.
And we've gotten calls, and the principals have been getting calls at their buildings. I don't know, as we get closer to the school start, how that'll change. Right now, that sentiment is they want to be in school.
I think you indicated that, right now, we're okay to take a few more, but, maybe 95% is where we're looking at.
Yes, our principals cap it at 95, and they get that information and then send it back to us. Yes, sir.
All right,
Monthly financial?
Yes, sir.
Guys, you saw June in your packet. We will end June with a legal balance of $1,512,70. Construction fund was $1,007,000 and change. We have gotten a notification recently that we are going to receive $472,000 in late tax money for July, so that's good because we were worried due to COVID that money's been behind. And we're still a little behind, but that'll catch us up quite a bit. So the thing I would say there is, you know, in the past we have talked about having to dip into our construction fund a couple of times a year because of the change in our debt structure. I know you guys are aware of that. Our debt structure is twice a year now. So what I would look to do is just get to a projection where we wouldn't have to do that in our legal balance. And I think that's probably a good spot to be at. I'm not sure exactly what that is. I've got some estimates, but I think it's best if we try to work there towards that number so that we don't continually have to dip into that construction fund unless you guys feel differently about that. So
Do you have any questions or comments about the consent agenda? If not, we entertain a motion.
So,
We have a motion, do you get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. Consent agenda passes. Let's go into your recommendations.
yes, we had, this month, we're having a large technology purchase. You had it in your packet. It's for K-9 classrooms, 10 projectors, and 10 document cameras. And we would just ask, we had this budgeted, Jared said it was in their budget, so we would just ask if you approve that technology purchase as presented.
All right, board, we've got a recommendation to approve the short throw projectors and document cameras to replace the older technology. Any questions or comments? If not, may I entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion, do you get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And that passes.
The next recommendation, I know that was a lot of policies, guys. We got those and we're sifting through those, and a lot of the policies changed based on adding DESE rules to the policies. Most of the policies, if you had a chance to look through them all, there were so many, there was no board action required on several of them. The biggest change is to policy 427, 326, and 8.20. Those are our student certified and classified sexual harassment policies. And I know if you read those, you saw that there are major policy changes. With the federal change to Title IX and sexual harassment, we've got to make sure that we post our information on our website and then also give all of our staff, students, and families the steps for reporting sexual harassment. And that was the total overall, those big policies, and that was the majority of the new policies. So if there's not questions, we would just ask these, the policies presented by SBA to us without change, that you approve those additional policies.
All right, board, we have a recommendation to approve the new ASBA policies. Any questions or comments? If not, may I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion, do you get a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Policies passed. Information. Reports.
Yes, our Ready for Learning group committee met, and we took the governor's new mandate that we have to return to school between the 24th of August and the 26th. And it's 27 certified, classified staff, parents, nurses, administrators. And we worked through the Department of Ed and Department of Health recommendations. And tonight, we're going to have Ms. Stephanie Pinkerton and a couple of our staff members are here to help her kind of walk you through our Ready for Learning plan, to let you know where we are.
Right, as, back in June, we applied for the Act 1240 waivers that kind of gave us some flexibility with things we could do this upcoming year to meet the needs of our staff and students. So that's kind of where this came from. Once we committed to that, then we began our Ready for Learning plan. Go to that first slide, Jared. This just shows you who was on this committee. There were 27 of us. We had a couple others drop in for one meeting or another, but this was our original committee. We had someone pretty much from every department trying to get some parent representation from our teachers and administrators. I think it was a great group. It was a solid group, and we got a lot accomplished in the 2 days that we met. Okay, so when you look at what the state sent us regarding the Ready for Learning plan, we had to be able to meet these 6 actions in our plan. These were our focus areas, and we broke these down over the 2 days that we met, divided into 3 to 4 different mini groups and tackled some of this, and then came back together as a whole group. The first part, we knew we had to come up with some type of blended learning, which means our kids that choose to come back to school will still receive some of their instruction online in the regular classroom through Google Classroom. The reason for doing that is if we have to have another mass shutdown, those kids know what to do, they're already familiar with it, and so some of their assignments throughout the course of a week will be through Google Classroom. And it'll just be an interface, the teachers will be there with them, but they'll still be interacting through that just so we can be prepared to make sure that if this happens like last spring, that we're ready to move forward. The state has come out and paid for diagnostic assessments for grades K-8, that was another piece of it. We've elected as a district to pay for 9-10 as well. Another thing is to look at unfinished learning from our kiddos, that had some gaps back there in the spring. We had kids that did a great job. We had some that did an okay job and some that were a little worried about coming back. So we've got to make sure that we've got a plan for those kids. We're going to utilize a learning management system, and what that is just an online platform that the students will get their work through. We're going to talk a little bit more in detail about those in just a minute. We're going to have support for our teachers and students and parents regarding those LMS systems. And then we're going to have to really communicate to our parents and students and our community throughout this whole process. I know there's a lot of that going on already right now. There's a lot of people concerned, parents are concerned, our community, we're all concerned. We want our kids to come back and we want them to have a safe environment. We want them to learn what we want them to learn. But it's an ongoing process, and this document is just going to kind of be a working document as things kind of change. And as Mr. LaFoon said, we're following the recommendations from DESE, from the Department of Health, from CDC. So as those things grow and extend and change, that we're having to change with that. All right, next slide. Okay, so looking at providing a viable curriculum that focuses on blended learning. Before we could ever get there, what we had to do is kind of gauge our parents and see what they were thinking. So this was our preliminary survey we did kind of mid-June. I think it closed July 3rd. We just wanted to know right now kind of what's your thoughts. We had over 2,100 students represented in this survey, which I thought was a spectacular number. Having 2,600 students, we've got kind of the majority, so that was awesome to see that. And look, when we broke that down, we had about 269 that said that they were really considering doing some kind of off-site virtual learning with their students. So we took that information into our committee and began to discuss those initial questions, because then we kind of knew maybe a percentage that we would have going in. So that just kind of gave us a starting point. So we took that information and we kind of came up with some guiding questions on what we wanted that to look like. And we took what we learned from the spring based on the guidelines that we knew we were now under to follow. And so what are our most important standards? What are the key things we need our kids to be able to learn? How are we going to make sure that whether they're on-site or they're off-site, can we engage them? That's a big thing. We learned a lot about that in the spring. We had some kids that were really engaging with those online lessons and some that just weren't. So we've got to figure out how to do a better job of that and make sure that regardless of what they choose, that we're ready for them. And then we decided, and this comes where the assessment piece comes in. How are we going to know what they've learned, or if they have learned it? Then what are we going to do with that information? What do we do with the kiddos that are behind? What do we do with the ones that are advanced? And we still have to have that responsibility of providing those interventions regardless of whether they're on or off site. We still have some responsibility there. And also for those kids that are advanced, if we can push a little bit further. I will say that our latest survey that we have active right now that has the enrollment going on for virtual, we are at, today, this afternoon, I checked it, it doesn't close till Friday, but I checked it this afternoon, and we have 351 kids that have enrolled virtual. So that's a little bit bigger than what we had anticipated on the front end, but we're working with that information now and kind of moving forward with that plan for those kids. But I've got a couple of people from the, well, actually, a lot of them in this room were on this committee, but I asked Clayton to come over and kind of represent the high school, and Michelle Gooch from Williams Elementary, just to kind of help me go through some of this. And so I'm going to turn it over right now to Clayton.
So you're going to hear probably a lot of academic jargon getting thrown around the place over the next few months. But one of the things, obviously, is blended learning, and so that can look very different from school to school. You know, Fayetteville has their plan, Prairie Grove has their plan, et cetera, et cetera. As we met as a committee, we really wanted to kind of we didn't want a lot of fluidity in the sense of people tracking in and out, and it's difficult to keep them tacked down and monitored and things like that. For safety purposes, for health purposes, and things like that. So we really wanted to make it an either or. You're virtual or you're on site, so that we kind of know where we stand throughout the process. There's a couple of allowances maybe in there, but that's what we really wanted. So when we talk about blended learning, we're actually talking about on-site learning that can be done digitally, and then one of the hot words of the summer is the word pivot, so that at any moment if we have to go into an isolation system, we can pivot as educators and be able to kind of go on as seamlessly as possible. And so that's basically the blended on-site learning will include traditional classroom setting with digital content. And then for our Farmington Virtual Academy, that's where we've set up a couple of different options to be able to have 100% off-site learning. We'll kind of get into that in just a second. But part of that diagnostic piece is to be able to assess students not only from maybe what happened at the end of last year, but even as we go along. This isn't anything new for us. It's something that we've continually done. iStation, do you know how long iStation, we've done iStation?
We've done iStation, this will be our 4th year.
Okay. And, you know, and math, which is not a geography lesson, it's a measure of academic progress, but it's mainly in your core subjects like your math and reading. You can also do language arts, and you can choose to do science as well. But we've been doing that for many, many years. I want to say a good 7 or 8 just at the high school level. And, you know, so it's really helpful to be able to kind of measure students' progress, and it basically comes through a national, global company that measures where our students rank, not just within our school, but just on all of their sampling size, which is pretty huge. So that's been really helpful to be able to kind of help gauge where students are from year to year, and even from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. They can set specific goals over different areas within each subject to kind of help you know, the teachers customize and tailor their instruction to really, you know, manage those deficits and try to address those. And then, of course, the local common formative assessments, that's done at our school, usually within our professional learning communities. It might be as a grade level team, it might be in a high school, it might be as a department as well. We have both, and most of the other schools do as well. But it's really just trying to assess students, identifying those essential standards, and where are those students in meeting those essential standards. So it's really a lot of diagnostics that we've already familiar with, already in place. So it's not anything new or shocking or scary for our staff. It's really something that we feel very comfortable with, and that we're kind of just chugging right along. Jerry, do you want to go ahead and talk about next week? And so one of the other challenges that we kind of experienced at the end of last year was really trying to find consistency, not just within our building, but across the district, because we may have parents that have first graders, fifth graders, 10th graders, and so they're kind of spread out amongst the district. And so we really wanted to try to have something consistent across the district as much as possible, so that as students or as parents may not be familiar with some of the learning management systems, we wanted to try to at least make it consistent as possible. So we got a kind of a list up there. Pretty much we chose Google Classroom across the district. It's something that's free. And when we say learning management system, another one of those wonderful educational acronyms, it's basically just how you deliver content. Y'all may be familiar with it to some degree with your own kiddos, but it's basically how we push out content, announcements, any type of assignments, assessments, and things like that. And it's free and it's pretty, manageable. The students have been working with it for a few years now, for the most part, as they come up. So it's really something that can, for the most part, be in their wheelhouse. But then at the K2 level, Seesaw seems to be kind of the management system that is, adaptable and best. I can't imagine in my mind a kindergartner trying to use some of these things, but I think they felt that for K through 2, Seesaw was best, and I know Ms. Gooch could definitely probably address that more. I haven't seen the system, but I have heard of it and kind of heard some of the challenges that it has, that it alleviates compared to Google Classroom. But pretty much 3 through 12, we're looking at Google Classroom as the way to be able to deliver those types of things. That's in our school, that's blended learning, et cetera. Now, if you're looking at the virtual academy part, basically we've kind of gone 2 different routes. K through 8, we're looking at a state paid for program called Lincoln Learning, and they're going to provide it to the schools for free this year, maybe next year is what I've heard as well. But basically it's where you have access to content, and the teachers, your teachers on site actually use that content to be able to deliver instruction and things to the students. That's going to be K through 8. We kind of decided that 9 through 12, it's kind of a different animal because you have so many different subjects, you have so many different specialties and things like that, that we decided to go with a third party called Virtual Arkansas, which is something that we've used for a number of years at the high school for credit recovery. We use it with our ALE program, and it's not just basic courses. They do have AP, they do have some other things, they do have electives such as career and technical and things like that. So we've kind of chosen to go that route for 9 through 12 in that way. And so, as Ms. Pinkerton was talking about, they do have an Arkansas playbook to kind of address, and they were in the process of doing this even before, COVID kind of broke out. But they kind of had just kind of an overall learning experience of trying to address the needs across the board, not just the educational parts, but some of the socio-emotional supports that students need. And we can't even imagine to, try to measure what they've had to go through the last quarter of last year through the summer. We heard quite a bit with some of the things about having to delay graduation and so many other events, but I don't think we could just fully, it's probably going to be a while before we could really measure that. But that's some of the things that we're trying to keep in mind as we start this new school year, because obviously at the end of the last year, it was one thing where you've at least had those students for 3 quarters. So you developed a relationship, you know them, they know you, et cetera. But this is a new ball game. Kids have moved up, and all of a sudden we're going to look to possibly have to start a school year knowing these students with the ability to be able to turn around. We don't know, for sure within a week possibly to be able to go off-site. So their playbook has kind of tried to at least address and kind of allow us to address some of these different areas as we've gone along, whether it be procedures in our school with regard to health and masks and PPE and all that kind of stuff. So it's been really helpful as a guide, and it's really been helpful that they've given us a lot of the options and choice to be able to address those things rather than just sticking mandates down our throat and saying you have to, you have to, you have to in that way. So we're really appreciative of that. And then that's one of the things as we kind of talked about the unfinished learning. Again, we'll be able to look at some of those diagnostic things that we've already been using, but also the professional learning communities to be able to, at the high school it's a little bit different. Just to give you an example, in social studies they go from 9th grade American history to 10th grade world history, and it's sometimes kind of hard because that's different content. But in subjects like math, where you're building on some things, it's a little bit easier. Even in science, it's a little bit different. You might have biology in the 10th grade, and then you flip over and you do chemistry in the 11th grade. Yes, there's science, yes, there's some basic things that transfer, but it's it's life science versus physical science. And so that's where I really think that not only grade level, but subject level professional learning communities can really help to try to address and look back and say, hey, these are some things I wasn't able to, cover. I know you may not be licensed in physical science, et cetera, but how about if I help you try to address some of these things? So we're really, hopeful that our groups can really work on those types of things. And then kind of our third action, again, LMS, Learning Management System. Essentially, as we kind of mentioned, if it's on-site or if we have to do that pivot and kids go into isolation, but they're with our campus, with our teachers, Seesaw and Google Classroom are going to be those two main management systems. And then through Lincoln Learning, they use Buzz Learning Platform, and then Canvas is what Virtual Arkansas uses. And so those things are that we're really looking to address to those specific students. And we're already looking at, once we can get all of the results from the survey of who's going to do what, of having orientation meetings with the students and parents to really walk them through this process, and reaching out to these companies to kind of help provide support as needed as well. I think I looked, and right now we had 71 10 through 12 that are choosing the full virtual option, and I kind of did a quick search, and I think there was 18 ninth graders. And so we're really kind of honing in on scheduling these students, et cetera, to be able to kind of really address their needs so that they don't lose any credits or anything like that through the process. Virtual Arkansas, they can't offer everything, but they do offer a lot. And again, it can range from anything from your regular classes to your evening classes. So it's a really good system, and we felt like it was a good selection for the needs of our students.
Okay, so obviously that's a lot for teachers to handle. And we have been using Google, but Seesaw was kind of a new thing to us. We just kind of stumbled upon it, and we kind of scrambled to teach our teachers how to use it. And so we've been able to put some training in place for when we come back. And the same with Google Meets. Like, they've been doing lots of Google training because everybody's been using Zoom, but now Zoom's going to charge. So we're trying to streamline everything to Google. And so Google Meet has been putting out lots of training. And the same with Lincoln Learning. That's a whole new, we've never used Lincoln Learning, we've never used Buzz. And so we're going to provide our staff with those trainings so that they feel confident, so that they can provide the curriculum that our students need. We're going to continue the RISE training, and so we've looked at the Lincoln Learning, and they tell us they're going to supplement some RISE in there, but we still think that at the lower elementary, we'll probably have to supplement some in there, just some of those RISE skills that they can do, some small group reading interventions with a certified teacher. And as Mr. Williams said, we still are doing our professional learning community, so that way they can collaborate. And so I know the teacher who's virtual, we're asking to still come on campus so that they can collaborate with their grade group and their cohorts and kind of be on the same page, whether they're virtual or at home or at school. We will also provide support for parents. This is a whole new world. I'm also a kindergarten mom, so I can relate so much to all these new moms coming in and dads and just like, oh my gosh, I might have to pivot and teach my kid online. So our goal is to have that support for them so that they feel that they can do it and that they want to bring their kids to school so that they can socialize. So if they don't have a device at home, the district's going to provide a Chromebook as well as a charger for them. We're also going to be there for support to help them with whatever LMS they are. If they're in Google, if they're doing Buzz, if they're on Canvas, we're going to be there to help them. And then we've got 7 Wi-Fi hotspots around the district so that students who don't have Wi-Fi at their house can go to one of those locations and get the material that they need. And then we've also secured some partnerships with local internet people so that we can help some of our families get internet access at their home. If virtual option is the best, or if we do need to pivot. Like I mentioned, we're going to do LMS training, so whatever, if they're doing blended or virtual, we will have a training, like an orientation for them, kind of explaining everything. And we're also really considering our ESL learners, and we're going to have translators available so that those families are also supported. In the DESE playbook, there's lots of resources that kind of talk about different things for parents and to help. our special population, we are still serving them via Zoom meetings. They might be individual, they might be, if they need a translator, we're gonna get them a translator. Teachers are still available via email and phone, but something kind of new is Zoom and Google Meet, like being able to video conference. That's a new thing to ask of teachers to be available, but I think if we do pivot and we go home, those kids need to see their teachers' faces and they need to see their friends' faces. And so that's something that we have to educate our families on. And we've talked about, we have to have procedures like, here's what's appropriate for a Zoom, and this is your expectations, because they don't know. And so it's our job to teach them. And also that they'll be able to contact us through the LMS if it's Buzz or if it's Google. And then obviously we'll hold conferences in person by appointment, so that way all safety procedures are met. Social emotional, that is a huge thing. And so obviously we are here to support. Each building has a school counselor, and so we will also have our own classroom, Google Classroom set up where those kids can know how to get help, and as well as families. And so they're available during school hours as well as Zoom, and they can be scheduled in person too. And the playbook has awesome resources that supports all of those families. We also still have our partnership with OGC, and they're going to provide outside counseling to our students. I did a training with them today via Zoom, and she said, you guys are on the front lines. Like, you have to recommend these families to us because we know this is a huge trauma, and it has affected so many families. And so it's awesome that we have that partnership with them. The counselor's office, they're all at the building, and we're ready. We have a school comprehensive service plan. It's on our website, I believe. It's updated and on there. And so some things kind of changed this year, but our goal that we're focusing on as a whole district, as a counselor, is coping skills. How do you cope with stress? Because this is a major stress, and some adults are finding don't know how to cope with this stress. So that's a counselor goal that we're focusing on this year, and we thought that it was just so fitting for this pandemic that we're in. We also have so many great resources in Washington County, and each counselor office has a list of running people who help. And I know if I ever had a need, I can just pick up a phone and I've got a list of people who would be willing to help. And so we want to support those. And a big thing is our homelessness. And I know that's a big worry of mine, all these babies who've been up since March, like, oh my gosh, what has happened to you? And so we have funds to help those families in need. We are providing written communication plans, so you can kind of see there's our timeline. We're obviously, here we are presenting to you guys, so we're at the end of July, but you can see we started June 15th. So we started in the middle of summer. And then we got the data. The Ready for Learning Committee met twice. Then we released out the information, and then we opened up Farmington Virtual Academy on July 17th. And as Ms. Pinkerton said, the deadline closes this Friday. And then from there, we're just watching the guidelines. As you watch the news, you probably see things change every single day, it feels like. And so we're just doing our best to stay with the curve and pivot as needed, but we're ready to reopen. We've got breakfast, lunch procedures, dismissals, all those things. We're just waiting on the guidelines. And we're communicating. You might have seen our new website that went up. We also have a new app, and so we're just getting information out to families that way. We all have, I think every school has a Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, and so we're just flooding their social media with information because they want to know and what another district's doing, we're not doing it, so they need to know what we're doing at Farmington. So obviously we have guidelines to follow, and it's set by DESE, the Arkansas Department of Health, and the CDC. So some of the big ones are obviously the mask will be worn for all staff and kids in grades K-12 while on campus and on the school bus. We will have hand sanitizer stations throughout all the buildings as well as on the school bus. The schedules have been all rearranged so that we're minimizing the number of students in the hallway, in the cafeteria, on the playground, any areas where there's large groups of people. We're doing our very best to space the classroom so that they can social distance in the classroom. It's, 6 feet apart is not always possible, and so we're trying our very best to do what we can. We're moving out furniture, and we're just thinking outside of the box. We've also, each campus is going to have a water filling station, so the water fountains will be closed, and we're encouraging them all to bring a water bottle. We also, the district has provided a gaiter as well as a mask for every student and staff in the district. Is that okay? I was like, oh, that was it. And then our school, because we are littles, we've got lanyards for them to kind of keep up with their masks, so we purchased those as well. We have extra janitors, or not extra janitors, but we have extra cleaning supplies to help with those high surface areas like doorknobs and just any area that they use. The big thing too is that we're asking parents to really be in partnership with us this year, and we're asking them to complete the COVID screener on the app prior to coming to school. And so it asks them, have you had a fever of 100.4? Have you been in contact with anybody? And so we're asking that they do that at home, and our staff it too. So that way, we're saying we're trusting you, we're working with you this year, that when your child enters this building, to your knowledge, they are healthy. So that way we can keep everyone else healthy. We are not allowing visitors into the school building unless they have an appointment. So if somebody needs to get checked out, they'll call the office and they'll meet in the foyer. And so that way that just limits outside people coming into our buildings. The cafeteria is going to consider prepackaged food. There will be frequent hand washing encouraged. And we will work with CDC if we had a COVID case, and they would tell us kind of, what steps we need to do, and we're going to go from that. And the athletes will continue to follow all the guidelines set by the Arkansas Department of Health.
This last slide is just, we set up some points of contact. We have to submit this to the State Department. If they have questions, they'll kind of know who to call. Also, this is going to be on our website, so anyone can look at it, see if the parents have questions, just kind of direct them on who they can contact, depending on what their question is. One other thing I'll say, we sent out some mailers to the homeschool kids that are in our district. We sent out roughly 100 mailers last week, and so those probably arrived in homes Thursday or Friday. Over the weekend, we have 8 homeschool students that have enrolled back, so it's $6,800 a piece. If we could keep getting some of those kiddos back, I think that's going to be a good thing too. We told them that we'll provide them a Chromebook if they need one, so we're offering them a computer and access to our curriculum if they want to come back and enroll in our district. So hopefully we'll be able to get some of those families back as well. Lots of changes and challenges. We've got some great people working on this, and we want to come back, we want to have regular school, we want our kids there 5 days a week. We think that's what's best for our families, and that's what they need right now. But we want to do it in the safest way possible, and just hope that things start turning around and looking in the different directions, so we can get back to a little bit of normalcy for these kids. Like Michelle said, we're worried about the curriculum and teaching them, and there's a whole other side of it too. Of these lives have drastically been altered because of this, and we have athletes worried to death whether they can play sports this year or not. So, think about all of that and how important those things are in kids. We just hope that we're going to be able to do all of those things. So, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer, or maybe Clayton or Michelle.
I think you'll cover pretty much all the bases I can think of. Make any questions or comments?
Have we measured the success of what we did in the spring virtually? I mean, how did the students keep up? Are the ones that are re-enrolling in the virtual academy, are they the students that did well?
We've looked at that somewhat by building. As of Friday, we're going to pull that final list and kind of go through those, because we've talked about that too. We have responsibility too. If a kid signs up for virtual and we see 2-3 weeks into the school year, they're not performing, they're not doing the work, they're not making the grade, then we have responsibility on what our next step's going to be. We've talked about, having those kids come back to traditional school. You know, we gave them that opportunity. It wasn't working out, so we're going to bring them back to educate them. Whether they would be back in the regular classroom setting or they would still continue to do virtual but on our campus in a smaller setting. Those things we're still talking about right now. But we have some concerns about that, and that's something we're going to be looking, and if we see those kids on the list that we know did not do the assignments or keep up last year, that's going to have to be some parent communication and some meetings happen there just to make sure that they're on the same page and they realize that this is for attendance now, this is for grades, this, you know, your 9 through 12 is for graduation. And last spring, you know, we went into this on March 13th. We basically had a week to prepare before we came back after spring break to roll all this out. So I think it was just try to make the very best of it, do what, you know, best we could with our kids in the time frame that we had. Some of them really embraced it and did well, but some of the kids knew too that, you know, that I think they knew that there's a little bit of a situation there they could take advantage of. But this is going to be completely different now, a lot more accountability, different curriculum, so I think we're going to be a lot more prepared for this. And
What's that?
Looks like a lot of thoughts going.
Yeah.
It looks like a good plan.
It's always, when you're virtual, there's always a learning curve.
Yeah.
I mean, there really is. And starting virtual school, it's not for everyone. We're gonna have some students that maybe don't perform as well as they should or have. You know, we'll have to be, kind of like they said, that communication plan with parents will have to be very involved.
Travis, I want to thank everybody who put that plan together. That's a very detailed plan. Unfortunately, I think we're going to be moving targets for a while. And that plan is probably going to have to change maybe several times. And, you know, everybody's just going to have to kind of be patient. But that's one thing this district's always done, is they've always done a very good job of adjusting. You know, and there's going to be some concerns out there. I'm already hearing it. I'm sure you guys are too. I'm sure we've got concerns within our staff, and you know, I mean, I worry about it. But I think you guys put a good plan together to address a lot of those issues. But everyone don't get frustrated if we got change somewhere. So.
Yeah, I think staying flexible is gonna be critical for all of us. As we go into this, you know, the governor announced just a little bit ago, he was backing up school, so, you know, we still got a month to go until we get there, so. It's very important. Thank you guys very much.
Very good, thank you.
On to the superintendent report, just made you aware that we went ahead and purchased PPE using policy 7.5. Guys, when I got here, we were kind of behind the 8 ball and couldn't wait. So we went ahead. I want to thank Terry and the principals. They worked hard on that. You know, and I think she pointed out that we purchased masks and what they call gaiters for students and staff. We hope those are here very soon. Gloves, no-touch thermometers, face shields for our nurses and therapists, protective eyewear, disposable gowns, sneeze guards, plexiglass, hand sanitizer, disinfectant, foggers for the bus, the water bottle filling stations. We purchased all of those, and at this time, we've allocated around $115,000 of our CARES Act money for that. So I just want you guys to be aware of what we spent that on.
Thank you.
Hey, Travis.
Yes, sir.
On that, we're putting that note on the bottom, the 2021 state threshold.
Yes, sir.
Is that something, with what we're going on right now, what we got going on right now, is that something we need to address right now? I mean,
That's up to the board. I mean, it's increased each year. It's up to 21,284. Right now, we're at 10,000 our threshold. That's obviously up to you guys. I wasn't putting it in there to address it, but you know, if you chose to, we could.
So we could go up to 21,284 as a state limit.
Yes, sir. For this school year, yes, sir.
All right. Let's think about that, maybe bring it up next month.
Sounds good.
Yeah, good suggestion, Jeff, thank you.
Thank you. The last thing I had in the superintendent portion was our construction update. I had the chance to meet with our architect, excuse me, High Jackson and Kinko, I know we have this project over here. We have applied for partnership money. We're just waiting to see how that turns out. To do the project, whether we get partnership money or not, we have 3 bonds that we can restructure. That was Stevens to go over those. They're projecting around $6 million conservatively on the restructure. If we wanted to do that, and we can talk about this later, I know this is my first month, but we would want to put that out probably in January, February to stay on our construction timeline, which I've gotten a construction timeline recently from High Jackson as well. And I just need to meet back with Kinko, but I just wanted to, you know, I haven't been here. I know you guys are moving along on that project. I just wanted to see where you guys are on that project, what your thoughts are with the junior high project.
Okay, so Ms. Jones doesn't think we will not get the partnership money, is that correct?
For the elementaries, as we expand, we've talked about building new elementaries and adding on, and I don't have good solid numbers projections here once we start school. I've got some preliminary, but yeah, for the elementary, she says that we don't have this student loan right now to get partnership money for new elementary expansion. So we've got to look at it as, do we want to come in? We need to find out first. Our first step is if we get partnership money in this junior high. If we get that, and then we were to restructure the debt, if the voters allowed us to do that, and you guys wanted to do it, then we would have the money to do the elementary expansion and the junior high. So we just need to see where we are with partnership funding before we make a decision.
But the rest of y'all will probably ought to go ahead and get started on restructuring bonds, though, don't y'all
I
think?
agree. Anytime they can save us some money, you bet you.
Yeah, and the rates are prime right now.
Yeah.
You guys know. If you want me to pursue, just going ahead with
Yes.
that, getting it to you.
Yes.
Okay. Would you, your time frame, the construction company said it doesn't matter if we do it January, February, that we can get it done in time for school either way on the election. So what would y'all prefer? Want me to give you 2 timelines and let you make that decision?
Yeah, if you don't mind, sir.
Okay. Do that.
When will we know on the, if we do get partnerships, what day is that? When does that
We're
information flow
supposed
out?
to find out end of April, early May. So it'll be in spring.
I think also we're considering even doing another elementary. We really, I know we don't have the funds, but we might need to start looking at where that might possibly be, getting a committee to find that land, because it's gonna be tricky. You know, I know we kind of have to wait on that, but, you know, be looking
Go
in
ahead
the
and start.
community and get that information where we have it, where we need it.
Looking to acquire. Okay. Do that for sure. And then I'll get you a couple of timelines next month as well. So you can see those and make a decision.
Yes.
That's all I had.
Also, on one of those recommendations, we missed the truck for FFA.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't do that this month.
Okay.
There were some differences in the contract.
Okay.
So we took that off this month until we get that set, that accurate. We're hoping to get there next week.
All right, we'll get the curriculum report.
Yes, and that was just information on the middle school
Okay.
curriculum for you. So we've already gone over that piece.
Student services.
That was kind of what I covered with the CARES Act.
Okay.
Like I said, I do want to thank Terry and Stephanie and the principals. They work hard to get those needs in there. And we still have needs that we still are looking at if we have money left at the end of purchasing.
Okay. And athletics.
Yeah, we've got Mr. Thompson here. I'll kind of let him share with you guys where we're at right now. I know you're all aware that we're closed right now.
Yeah, as you can see, with all this chicken scratch, my life changes day to day right now. But, you know, under AAA directive, which was about 4 weeks ago, you know, everybody's planning on having sports this fall. Now there's a couple different kinds, you know. We're supposed to start golf, tennis, and cross country next week, and that's set. I mean, by AAA, unless they come in and change it, you know, between now and then, we've got a golf meet, I believe, on Monday. So, you know, those are obviously outdoor sports and distance sports, so they're planning on, you know, trying to go forward that as best we can tell. no decisions come on football or volleyball right now, which is what they consider contact sports. We're just approaching it as if, you know, hopefully we're gonna get to play our scheduled dates, but I think we're probably supposed to have some sort of information on that within the week. It's kind of the word. If for right now, if we were to host a football game right now, you know, we would have to do just like they did at Fort Smith last night for that concert. If it's a 100-person outdoor venue, you got to apply through the Arkansas Department of Health and answer 50 or 60 questions and things like that. So I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I think that they'll come down with some ruling for us to have football games, hopefully from the AAA. But if you were to play right now, that's what you got to do. Anything above 100 people. You know, kind of changing gears. You know, we're planning on moving these old man bleachers that are over here over to the home side of the baseball field. We're going to move that existing set to the visitor side, where we'll have 2 sets of smaller bleachers on the visitor side of home plate, and then we're going to have 1 big set on the home side. We needed about 1,400 square foot of concrete. We've actually got that done, you know, between now. We've already got that done. Our bid actually went a little higher than $5,000 because we decided that those bleachers were so big that we needed a little bigger, a little thicker slab, just to make sure we can hold that weight. Those bleachers are bigger than you think they are when you get over there next to them. But like I say, those slabs are done. We've got another group that's agreed to donate labor and equipment to disassemble these bleachers over here, move them, and reassemble them at our baseball field. So you know, we're going to get bleachers at our baseball field for less than $6,000. So I think that's a good proposition for something that we've already got. We're going to be able to have enough people to host state tournament, regional tournament, anything like that there. Our goal is to have that project completed by the 2nd week in August. I think that's going to happen very easily. You know, one thing, we're going to postpone our board celebration of senior girls state championship to next month. Another kind of add-in, just had another meeting today, right before we got here. We're probably going to have a change in our athletic training provider, not our athletic trainer. She's been with us for over 13 years, Miss Melinda Day. Most of you have all had kids that she's worked on and cared for. She's good for our kids here, so we want to keep her. Right now, there's 2 groups that's competing to employ her: Northwest Health and Arkansas Children's Hospital. So I'm going over both those contracts. We have proposals from each of them, and hopefully by next board meeting, you know, we'll have something for you as far as that. But I definitely don't want to lose our training, and you know, she's going to be able to make a move that can provide for her family better, and I think it's going to help us as a school twofold. So, last thing, you know, we're working through our first wave of COVID. Basically, all we have on campus this summer has been athletes. So obviously, our first wave was hit by us. We're following all ADH reporting guidelines. I've been online with them basically almost daily, except for the weekends. They shut down about 3 o'clock on Fridays. 3 o'clock, there's no need to call them, and they won't open again till 8 on Monday. So, you know, we've been a day or 2 late on a few of the reports just because they hit me on the weekends. And there's really nobody to report them to. But if there's any questions or anything that I can answer as far as that, you know, I'd love to do.
Are the football boys, are they able to start contact or by anything anytime soon that we know of?
Not until the governor declares that we can go to phase 3, which will be for everybody. You know, that'd be a restaurant deal, everything deal. Not yet, and that'll have to be cleared through the governor, then through the AAA. We are planning on resuming football practice as we've had it under phase 2, which means you can't be closer than 6 foot to each other, all the distancing guidelines. We'll continue that first week of August the 3rd. But no, we haven't had any. We're hoping to get direction that's what everybody is hoping this week, for them to possibly give us a date of, August 12th, we can start contact football practice or put helmets and shoulder pads on them. We've got to start acclimating our kids to play, obviously. But until the governor puts us into phase 3, what he calls phase 3, that's just not an option. So AAA's kind of put in a particular spot between us as schools and the governor right now. So we're just kind of waiting, trying to do the best we can, and we're going to continue to educate our coaches. We've got a group coming in this week. I'm sure Mr. LaFoon will talk about it. We got a group coming in tomorrow that's going to go through some of our high traction facilities like the arena and the arena weight room, and over at the indoor and football, and they're going to actually scan for virus and bacteria and maybe show us what do we need to clean, where do we have this stuff, what can we do better to protect our kids. So, and the last thing, we are kind of looking at possibly a policy, for people coming out of state, coming back into, somebody goes out of state for the weekend, coming back into athletics. We're kind of milling over that right now too. That has a lot of fingers. But that's another thing that we're looking at, trying to protect our athletes.
Yeah, and just to add to what Coach said, the group coming in is Easton Freedom. They serve medical facilities, hospitals, nursing homes. They're CDC registered group. What they do is they make the invisible visible. So they come in and they test all your surfaces in all of our athletic facilities. They're going to come in tomorrow. Before we open back up on the 3rd, I wanted to make sure it was safe. So we'll have them in tomorrow to test everything and check the RNA, bacteria, viral loads, all of that, in all of our athletic facilities, and make sure we don't have any hot spots where those 2 teams that had the COVID test come up have been. And so we'll check all that to make sure it's safe. And we'll also use them as part of our Ready for Learning plan. That's an extra layer I wanted to add. If, say, we had an outbreak in Julia's building in 1 or 2 classrooms, we could come in and test right there on the spot, find out what bacteria it is, where it is, and then check the other hallways and make sure, we might just end up closing the 4th grade hallway for 2 days to disinfect. And that gives us another layer of protection for our buses and our facilities.
All right, anybody any questions or comments?
Those tests are that quick? I mean, you swab it and they'll tell you right then?
Yeah, they put it in a computerized chamber with UV light, and that picks it up and prints you out a report in their software.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Boone, I see we've got personnel left.
Yes, got personnel, sent it out, updated today in the packet. Sure.
All right, does anybody see any reason to go into executive session in slate of personnel? All right, if not, may I entertain a motion to accept the slate of personnel as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion, do you have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Personnel is approved. You got anything else for us?
No, I don't.
Next meeting,
Next meeting will be
24th? That would be the normal. That's good with everybody.
Also, our new first day of school.
The fair will be going on that week too. I don't know if
What is?
Washington County Fair and the livestock show and park, they're doing that stuff, that will be that week also.
You guys have a preference? I mean, I don't know, have you already done your calendar for the year, for the meetings? Or- No? Okay.
well, I can be flexible then.
You guys be flexible, we may want to push to the 31st or the 17th, I don't know.
I'm good with the 24th.
You good?
Okay. I mean, I'll be good with
Which
that.
one, Amy?
The 24th, I'm good, either one, I'm good with 24th.
The only thing I'd be worried about is I don't know what you guys are gonna face.
We don't either yet.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I think the chicken business is still gonna be about the same on the 24th, but I'm not sure about school business.
Travis, what do you say we move it back? We move it back.
31st?
And that way we can kind of get an idea,
Yeah, I'm
you have a
with
little
you.
bit to tell us about the first part of school.
Yeah, I'm,
I think that's good.
okay, it's good.
For us, it
Yeah.
is.
I'll have a tough time making it on the 31st. Do what?
Okay.
I'll have to tell that
Oh, wait. Do we have to have it on a Monday?
I mean, I don't have to be here, but.
Well, that'd be nice.
Maybe
27th, Thursday night?
that's
25th?
That's fine with me.
Okay.
What do you like, 25th or 27th?
27th would be better for me.
Okay. You're the
That's
deciding
okay.
vote.
I'm sorry.
You're the deciding vote. All right, and right back here?
For now, yes, sir.
I did have one question. Will we have to change our school year calendar due to them backing up the days of when we start? Do we have to vote on that?
We do not have to vote because it is government mandate, but we are working on a couple of different options. We talked to the principals about one that they liked and got, I think, good staff feedback on that one. I know y'all sent it out, but we found another calendar with some different options that we're looking at as well. Yeah, but we will have to put that back out.
All right, well, we got nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Michelle.
You're welcome. Bye.